I spent 20 minutes staring at a gray text bubble, debating if a thumbs up emoji looked too eager. That was the moment I realized I was not dating her. I was auditioning for her. I was sitting in my car, the engine cold, dissecting a 3-word text message like it was the Rosetta Stone. My chest was tight, my stomach was in knots, and I felt this pathetic, sinking realization that my entire mood for the week depended on whether or not this girl decided to validate me. I was a grown man, but in that moment, I was a beggar. That was my rock bottom. That was when I realized that all the strategies and pickup lines in the world do not matter if your internal world is a house of cards. I had to rebuild myself, not with tricks, but with a completely different way of viewing reality. I was treating her texts like nuclear launch codes. If she took an hour to reply, I would wait exactly 61 minutes to hit send, just to prove I wasn't desperate. But playing games is desperate. It is a scent, and women smell it on you like cheap cologne. You are the hunter running frantically after the prey. An instinct tells the prey to run. I was trying to micromanage things I had zero authority over. I was obsessing over her mood, her opinion of me, and her interest level. I was trying to control the wind. So I stopped. I decided to focus only on my own sales. I control my fitness. I control my money. I control my honesty. That is Italiano. When I stopped chasing, the vacuum created a pull. She didn't feel pressure anymore. She felt my absence. Nature hates a vacuum. When you stop leaning forward, she naturally leans in to close the gap. It wasn't magic. It was physics. Then came the dinner test. Picture this. You are at dinner, and she pulls out her phone while you are mid-sentence. The old me would have sulked, or asked in a passive-aggressive tone, "Is everything okay?" I would have let her rudeness ruin my night. The new me just stopped talking and took a bite of steak. No anger, no sighing. I just let the silence hang there. She looked up, confused, and I just smiled and kept eating. She wasn't being evil. She was checking the foundation of the house to see if it crumbles. She was testing to see if her behavior dictated my emotional state. When you treat her bad mood or her rudeness like a passing rainstorm, something you notice but do not scream at, her brain flips a switch. She realizes you are the prize. She realizes that you are solid. Women do not fall for the guy they can bully or manipulate. They fall for the rock in the chaotic ocean. I used to treat a relationship like a pit stop. If I met a girl I liked, I parked the car. I skipped the gym, blew off my friends, and centered my entire week around her schedule. I thought this was being a good boyfriend. I thought this was dedication. It wasn't. It was suffocation. I became boring because I stopped moving. I lost the edge that attracted her in the first place. You have to operate with your own momentum. You are going somewhere, financially, physically, mentally, with or without her. Imagine you are driving a car to a destination you are passionate about. She is a passenger you invite to ride shotgun. If she wants to join, great. The music is better with company. But if she wants to get out at the next light, the car keeps moving. It does not derail. It does not slow down. That self-sufficiency is magnetic because you aren't asking her to be your engine. You are just offering her a seat. When she knows the train leaves with or without her, she makes damn sure she is on time. I also used to think that bonding meant spilling my guts on the first date. I would dump my childhood trauma, my anxieties, and my 5-year plan on the table before the appetizers arrived. I thought I was being vulnerable. I thought I was building a deep connection. I was actually killing the attraction. Women are natural detectives. They love the puzzle. They want to figure you out. If you hand them the answer key in the first hour, they change the channel. It is Stoic. Keep a private world. Have thoughts you do not speak, and plans you have not announced. Keep a VIP section of your mind roped off. When you retreat into your own silence and show that you are comfortable there, she realizes she doesn't know everything about you yet. She has to earn the next page of the book. That curiosity gap is what keeps the spark alive. In a world of instant notifications, the loudest thing you can do is shut up. When she cancels plans last minute, or throws a verbal jab, or sends a dramatic text, your thumb itches to fire back. You want to defend yourself. You want to write a paragraph explaining why she is wrong. Don't let the silence do the heavy lifting. Nothing terrifies a manipulator more than a blank screen. It forces her to sit with her own bad behavior while you go about your day. That isn't passivity, it is aggressive self-control. You are utilizing the pause. You are showing her that you are the master of your own emotions, not a slave to hers. Initially, this might frustrate her because her old buttons aren't working. She pushes anger, and you don't get angry. She pushes guilt, and you don't feel guilty. But deep down, it makes her feel incredibly safe. She knows the lighthouse doesn't move when the waves crash. That safety is the bedrock of obsession. You have stopped the bleeding. You have built the fortress. You have learned that silence is power and that your emotional stability is not up for negotiation. But defense alone does not win championships. Being unshakable prevents you from losing, but it does not guarantee that you win. Now, we switch gears. We are moving from the shield to the spear. We are going to explore how to use the aggressive side of Stoicism to trigger a deep biological compulsion in women to chase you. We are going to talk about how to weaponize your time and your perspective. You stopped sending the desperate double texts. You learned to sit in the silence without twitching. Congratulations. You are unshakable. But you are also still going home alone. Being a rock prevents you from losing. But nobody falls in love with a rock. A rock is boring. To trigger real desire, you have to move. You have to shift from holding your ground to taking ground. You have to stop hiding behind the shield and pick up the spear. I used to let the word no paralyze me. I would meet a woman at a bar, and instead of making a move, I would hover. I became the orbiter. I would buy her drinks, laugh way too hard at her jokes, and listen to her complain about her ex-boyfriend, praying she would magically realize I was the one. I wasn't a suitor. I was a waiting room. I treated every conversation like a hostage negotiation, where one wrong move would blow the whole thing up. I was terrified that if I showed my cards and she rejected me, my ego would shatter. I was walking on eggshells, trying to be the nice, safe option, hoping that safety would eventually turn into attraction. It never did. Then I flipped the script. I stopped viewing no as a failure and started seeing it as a filter. Look at the math. It is brutally simple. If I ask a woman out and she shoots me down, she just saved me $200 on dinner, 3 weeks of text tag, and the emotional energy required to pretend I like her cat. That isn't a loss. That is a discount. Rejection clears the path for the yes that actually counts. This is the practical application of amore fati. You don't just tolerate the result, you love the efficiency of it. When you walk up to a woman with zero fear of the outcome, you become dangerous. You aren't begging for a chance. You are auditing her. You are checking if she qualifies for your time. Women smell that lack of fear like shark blood. It is intoxicating because they are so exhausted by men who need constant reassurance. The man who is willing to lose is the man who cannot be manipulated. But let's be real. Logic is great until you are sitting across from her and your palms are sweating. She looks incredible. And suddenly, logic goes out the window. You feel like you are auditioning for a role you are not qualified for. That is when you zoom out, way out. Remind yourself that in 80 years, you are both dead. You are both going to be dust. Nobody cares if your joke falls flat. Nobody cares if you spill your drink. Nobody will remember this awkward silence in 100 years. When you realize the stakes are actually zero, the desperation evaporates. You stop performing and start enjoying the show. That detachment is actual confidence. While other guys are sweating through their shirts trying to recite rehearsed lines, you are leaning back, laughing. You look like a man who has conquered empires, not a man worried about a salad fork. That perspective creates a vibe of cool that no pickup line can mimic. We also have a tendency to hallucinate. We see a pretty face and immediately invent a soulmate. You turn her into a goddess before you even know her middle name. You'll project all these amazing qualities onto her because she has nice eyes. But you can't connect with a goddess. You can only worship her. And she doesn't want to worship her. She wants a peer. So strip it bare. Use objective judgment. She is a human being. She wakes up with bad breath. She has credit card debt. She has weird insecurities, just like you. She gets the flu. She has days where she feels ugly. When you force your brain to see the objective reality, you stop acting like a fanboy. You stop trembling. You start talking to her like a normal person. You tease her, you challenge her, you look her in the eye without flinching. When you knock her off the pedestal, she has to come down to earth to meet you. That is where the connection happens. You cannot be intimate with a fantasy. You can only be intimate with a reality. The nice guy thinks compliance buys love. He thinks if he agrees with everything she says, if he is always available, if he never causes friction, she will love him. He is wrong. It doesn't buy love, it buys contempt. She might use you for attention or free dinners, but she will never desire you. I had to learn the hard way that you have to be willing to kill the deal. If she is 20 minutes late without a text, call it out. If she plays games, withdraw. The first time I told a woman, "Hey, I don't think this is a fit," the dynamic flipped instantly. Her value for me skyrocketed because I proved I wasn't a doormat. Scarcity creates value. If you are always there, you have no value. You must demonstrate that your presence is a privilege, not a right. This is voluntary discomfort in action. You are choosing the discomfort of potential conflict over the comfort of submission. And that choice signals strength. Finally, stop acting like you have forever. I wasted years in talking stages that went nowhere because I was scared to rock the boat. I thought if I just waited long enough, the perfect moment would appear. But the boat sinks anyway if you don't steer it. The clock is ticking for all of us. This is memento mori. If you like her, say it. If she is wavering, cut her loose. A maybe is just a soft no wrapped in cowardice. Do not accept it. A man racing against the clock to build his life is infinitely more attractive than a guy waiting for permission to live. When you value your time, she values your time. Momentum is attractive. A man on a mission pulls people into his wake. You have the tools now. You have built the fortress with control and silence. You have learned to attack with perspective and urgency. You are no longer the beggar at the feast. But remember, this isn't a magic trick you perform once to get a girlfriend. It is a way of operating. It is a discipline. The goal isn't just to make women chase you. The goal is to become the kind of man who doesn't need to be chased because he is too busy chasing his own potential. And ironically, that is exactly when they start running right behind you.